A few days ago, Glad tweeted out the following tweet, quote, Destiny hot take? One thing that I think would drastically improve the contest raid and dungeon experience for all players would be an improved ammo economy in-game. Too many teams and builds are based around ammo printing for teammates. I don't like this being a necessity IMO. End quote. This inspired me to think about and make this video exploring the topic in greater detail to potentially offer ideas to help mitigate this very real and astutely observed problem. The Destiny ammo economy hasn't been properly tweaked in so long and is in dire need of it. The last buff that I could find for ammo generation was back in October, and it only affected the Finder mods. I will go over how people managed ammo in the not-so-distant past, how we manage ammo today, and ways I think the ammo economy would vastly improve. Do keep in mind that when I talk about any changes in this video, I will bring up some numbers alongside the ideas. However, these numbers are not something I think should be set in stone. They are merely for the sake of example to better illustrate the idea. For starters, let's look at the ammo economy before the last major sandbox shift in regards to ammo. Before Lightfall, and a little after, the best way to use your 3 weapon slots was to use 2 special weapons along with your heavy. This has come to be known as double special by the community. The upside to running this kind of loadout was simple. Special weapons can often do the job of primary weapons faster and more efficiently, so let's run 2 of them. But the biggest reason to run double special at the time was because the game was coded with an implicit perk called Juggler. Juggler was an old modifier that would basically give you more ammo for the type of weapon you weren't actively using. So when you would run double special, the game would just give more heavy drops for free. Lots of players really enjoyed double special because it allowed for very efficient and powerful play, while never needing to worry about ammo because the game would print for you. Early on into the year of Lightfall, Bungie would decide to nerf double special by taking away that all too important Juggler perk, and also nerfing the rate at which ability kills granted ammo. Overnight, double special had its effectiveness obliterated. You now cannot reasonably and reliably go into contest encounters with 2 special weapons and never run into ammo problems. Now, it is my personal opinion, but I think this change in a vacuum is necessary. If special weapons can be equipped with reckless abandon, then what's the point in them having ammo at all? Ammo was always designed to be a resource you have to manage. However, in the process of doing this, they left the game's ammo economy lagging behind. I also partly disagree with the penultimate sentence of Glad's tweet. There are only 4 ways to directly affect how much ammo you get, and there is potential in this system so that you can have an ammo guy and not have it feel abysmal. The 4 sources of ammo generation are Finder and Scout mods on your helmets, the Elethanum exotic grenade launcher, the Aeon's exotic gauntlets for each class, and the Cenotaph Mask exotic helmet for Warlock. It is important to mention while having a scavenger mod of whatever affinity your heavy is does obviously make getting the ammo necessary easier, but it's still often a headache for reasons I'll get into shortly. Right now, as it stands, I totally understand where Glad and other people are coming from in relation to ammo. Each of these sources has glaring holes and flaws with their design that just make them feel, at best, clunky, and at worst, unplayable. In order for you to make ammo for your team using a Finder and a Scout, you need to invest 2 of your 3 mod slots and 4 energy just for the 1 ammo type. If you don't have the Scout, your teammates are out of luck. And if you don't have the Finder, the Scout doesn't work. You are also just giving up space for Orb and Super Generation mods, only being able to have 1 other mod not including your stat mod. Above all else, especially if you aren't running an exotic primary, it just isn't that efficient in making enough ammo. The Elethanum exotic grenade launcher, to put it bluntly, is one of the worst exotic primaries in the game. I'm going to discuss potential buffs to the other 3 sources in order to make them feel better. I'm just not going to do that for Elethanum in this video because the buffs required to make this gun usable would not be worth the dev time. I think ATP said it best.
I'm dead as
You're
well.
out.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
we're
so
dead.
note to self, do not use Elethanum. That thing is the equivalent
It's okay.
of not having an item equipped.
Yeah, we'll just.
Yeah.
We'll just.
Whenever it comes to contest activities, the strategy when on a boss fight to generate heavy ammo for most people ends up being having one Warlock on Cenotaph and having one other player swapping to Aeons for finishers if possible. This setup just genuinely feels terrible to play. Aeons get swapped to because they're so terrible for neutral game. They're only used as the heavy brick on finisher. And if the combatant is coded as a certain enemy type, you can't even finish it for that benefit. Lastly, Cenotaph. Cenotaph's biggest fault is it forces you to run a trace rifle. Trace rifles are special weapons that just don't deal damage. For context, chain reloading Alethanim would deal about the same DPS as dumping a target lock trace rifle. Traces have long been extremely weak special options and are the linchpin for why Ceno Warlock feels so bad and boring to play. The main reason I disagree with that part of Glad's take is because there's no real build happening. Cenotaph is just equipping a trace rifle and then Touch of Flame healing nade plus Empyrean. That's not a Cenotaph build, that's Solar 3.0.jpg. Same with the rest. Nothing is really happening because of your exotics and mod choice except for the ammo generation. It also just sounds like he doesn't want teams to have to invest a player's build into ammo generation, and I just disagree. If that's not what he meant, then this statement means nothing, and I don't have any beef, obviously. This is just how I personally interpreted his words. But I do think that in fire teams, it makes sense to have an ammo guy, whether it's just thematically or practically from a gameplay standpoint. Giving at minimum, and honestly ideally, one player a standalone job of make sure we have ammo isn't that daunting of a request in a vacuum. The current systems just do not properly facilitate that outcome. The current status of ammo guys, quote unquote, still largely depend on help from other teammates. Aeons don't have individual power, so you can easily get a combatant finishable, and neither do trace rifles for Ceno users. If you give the players using these exotics the ability to be self-sufficient and able to slay out, then it would feel a lot less like a burden to be on ammo duty. For starters, I would change Aeons and Ceno to spawn heavy bricks for the person wearing the exotic, so you don't need to double up at all to make sure everyone has ammo. This change alone should make the consistency of having the ammo you need going into damage much more likely, while also not needing to do dumb swapping tech to Aeons. As far as specific changes I think we should make to the various sources, I have already said I am not going to be talking about Alethanim, so I'll be starting with Finders and Scouts. Firstly, Finders and Scouts should be combined into just one mod that functions as both. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how taking up 2 mod slots is necessary. Secondly, in the game right now, there's an implicit buff to Finders when you are solo that makes bricks spawn a bit faster. I want to expand on this idea a bit. Buff the implicit multiplier for bricks and make the bricks that spawn while solo full 100% bricks. The catch is, as you increase fire team size, the multiplier for kills gets smaller and the bricks give less ammo, such as 1.5x for solo, 1.1x for trio, and 0.7x for full 6-man for the multiplier, and like 100% for solo, 50% for trio, and 25% for 6-man for the bricks. And I guess like 0.1x and 1% in like excision, because who cares, it'd be funny. This allows for steadier ammo gen for solos that don't want to use exotic primaries while still having viability as a secondary option in dungeon level fire teams. However, also being disincentivized in raid scenarios to greater emphasize the exotic options. Speaking of which, do me a favor guys, without looking it up, comment below everything the Sect of Insight on the Aeon's gauntlets do. If you're right, you get nothing. But the satisfaction that you remember more nerd stuff than others. Anyways, the gauntlets in full make an orb after 2 precision multi-kills. Make different ammo on finishers of different tiers of enemies, and give super energy to other non-Sect of Insight Aeon's users. So basically, the ammo gen, a siphon mod, and something that only activates if your teammates are throwing. Let's change that a bit, shall we? I'll actually keep everything as is, but I will add one effect. When spawning, orbs of power or ammo bricks gain increased ability regen and damage for a short time. Spawning ammo results in a stronger effect. This would allow the exotic to actually have neutral game viability. I was thinking as far as numbers go, the damage would be less than like Max Stacks Verity's Brow, but more than Hoyle, like 50% and 100% for damage, and like 200% to 400% for regen for 5 seconds. With the sheer uptime of orb generation, this should more than make up for Aeon's viability, so no swap shenanigans have to occur. Finally, we come to Senno. I'll start by taking away the requirement that teammates have to get the kill on your marked target. Just a dumb requirement that has led to community-wide oopsies where one trace rifle tick counts as the killing blow and no one gets ammo. Secondly, I want to make trace rifles, while using Sino, actually feel like a good use of your special weapon. So I'd make it to where sustained trace rifle damage against marked targets significantly increases trace rifle damage. Think of it like Lucky Pants for trace rifles. Although, I don't know if I'd make the damage buff insane like pre-nerf Lucky Pants. Not the most original idea I know, but after the Peacekeepers rework, I felt the Warlocks were feeling left out. These changes fix the problem with Sino where you don't do anything except create ammo, because now you can actually kill something by yourself. Plus, now you can DPS div someone with div and LFG and post it to Twitter so that we can all compliment you on how cool you are. Now, anytime there's changes, one needs to consider the balance of the changes being made. A big thing with my changes are, if Sinnoh can make ammo for themselves, why would we ever use Aeons because of just how much more risky it is comparatively? I think that's mostly given the changes to Aeons, that if your Warlock likes Speaker Sight or Getaway or whatever more than Sinnoh, then they can comfortably run that if someone else is more comfortable on Aeons. Most of the time, at the end of the day, players are going to perform best on builds they are comfortable with. However, you could also add a small healing effect on Finisher for Aeons to try and alleviate that risk. As I said, these changes are not end-all be-all. Overall though, even if these changes were made, I'd love for Bungie to experiment with adding in more ways of generating ammo. Hopefully better ways than Alethanum, especially more concrete solo avenues to generate. It can be really frustrating in solo flawless attempts to barely get any ammo because you're using an exotic heavy for DPS rather than a primary for making ammo. I do believe though that my proposed changes would make a decent impact in making the game feel much smoother to execute encounters and interact with. Now I very much am open to any changes at this point because the system is so bad. So please leave your ideas in the comments below. I'll definitely read them, and the more we talk about this, the more likely Bungie are to take notice and make a change. And remember, the best way to get your idea heard is to blow up DMG and Destiny of the Game's Twitter replies for at least 2 weeks. It is a foolproof strategy, it works every time. Special shoutouts to my good friend Mr. Moth for supplying me his riveting Contest Sino Warlock gameplay for the background footage. I will leave a link to his channel in the description, so you should check him out. His name might be Moth, but he is undoubtedly a GOAT. Make sure to follow me on Twitter. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.